Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. 2020 has thrown up a lot of turds this year, but this fight between Daniel Dubois and Joe Joyce is not one of them. It's now confirmed for November the 28th. It is going to be behind closed doors, and even better, it's not on pay-per-view. And I can see people are just, glad that this is a good fight. They're going to get it. And they're not going to have to put their hand in their pocket, because us boxing fans, we are certainly asked to pay, I think, a lot more than a lot of other sports fans for their respective sports. They might have to pay a one fee for, a season pass, but something like boxing, you can be dipping your hand into your pocket all over the place. Just this week, for 2 separate events, I've already paid $80 in advance. So it is an expensive sport to get behind, but this is a strategic move for Daniel Dubois and Joe Joyce for this fight to be on a regular subscription as opposed to a pay-per-view event. They've obviously crunched the numbers here and decided, look, we're already sort of competing with other big boxing events sort of a week or two, apart from their date. 3 Matchroom cards in the space of 40 days are going to be on pay-per-view. You've got Usyk Chisora at the end of this month. Then you have November 21st, Povetkin White. This fight on the 28th, and Anthony Joshua Kubrat Pulev is set to be announced soon for the 12th of December. So it's going to be a crowded boxing market in the UK, but also it's in the run-up to Christmas. There's been the pandemic conditions. Some people wouldn't have been working as much. Money could be a lot tighter than it is in other times, but in the run-up to Christmas especially, that's generally a tight time for a lot of folks. So this is actually a win for the fans, and kudos to BT, Frank Warren, and the fighters themselves for getting an arrangement done where whatever they're getting, they've obviously come to some sort of arrangement. I'd imagine that they've taken a bigger fee than they would have got guaranteed, say, if it had been on a pay-per-view, which would have probably given them some upside. So they've come to a deal, they're going to fight, and we're going to see this, and it's not going to cost an extra £20 or whatever else wherever you are in the world in terms of what the pay-per-view cost would have been. Maybe in some markets it still will be pay-per-view, I don't know, but in the UK it is going to be just on regular subscription. So great move by Frank Warren and BT, and that will help get some cut through. As I said, this is strategic. Often we've had pay-per-view fatigue. We have the sport behind a paywall. It's sort of closed off to potential new fans for big fights. And you've already seen, I'm sure, in the almost a day since it was announced, there's been a really positive reaction. I've seen it since the announcement, or since I woke up to the announcement, I should say. A lot of people are just like, wow, this is great. This is unexpected. And I guess with any half-decent fight generally being on pay-per-view, we sort of just expect that this one was going to be on pay-per-view. But it's a clear case for me that they've decided the numbers don't work as a pay-per-view. There's too many factors that maybe make it, a bit iffy. But they've decided, we're going to build these guys' profiles. We're going to try win the hearts and minds of not just boxing fans, but sporting fans more broadly. They're opening this, really good fight up between two of the best prospects in the heavyweight division. Daniel Dubois, regarded generally as the number one prospect. They're opening this fight up to a much broader audience than it otherwise would have had. Both of these guys are not necessarily the biggest names in the UK. Sure, they've got some profile, but it's not Anthony Joshua level sort of profile. But something like this is a clear and strategic move to try invest in them, build their profile, try to win some new fans in the hearts and minds of sports fans in general, to try to get them on board. And if the fight lives up to expectations, if it's a real barn burner and an instant classic, that's just going to help everyone involved, including the loser, because if it's a great back and forth fight, the loser will still come out with credit and can be marketable. But the winner can go onward and upwards. And maybe the next fight, whoever wins this, say for example, if it is Daniel Dubois, he beats Joe Joyce, whatever the outcome, but it's a good fight, people enjoyed it. It's an instant shot in the arm to his profile, and he could maybe have similar level fights ahead of an eventual title shot down the line. But in the meantime, if it's not on pay-per-view, just on subscription, that's the opportunity to really build his fan base. And he does his talking in the ring. So if you're opening up his fight to be more accessible to a lot more people, then that is going to help build his name, which to some extent they have struggled a little bit. And obviously his sort of quiet demeanor hasn't necessarily helped him. He's not a trash talker, and there's nothing wrong with that. But let's face it, in this day and age, the short news cycles, the social media, the attention that you get from those sorts of avenues, if you're not a trash talker and you're not bold and brash, it can work against you in terms of the profile stakes. That's just a reality. But if you can do your talking in the ring and really do it loudly, like guys like Joyce and Dubois have been doing previously, then, fans seeing that is great for them, and also for boxing more broadly. Potentially brings in new fans, and a great move here. And Frank Warren and Daniel Dubois, Joe Joyce, BT, everyone involved deserves to be commended. And to the fight proper, I'll be doing some coverage ahead of the fight. Now we have a date, because this has been one of the things, as I was talking about earlier, at last, as the promo poster says, it's just been such a frustrating year. April, July, October, now it's locked in, and it's happening. So there will be some more coverage, preview stuff that I'll be doing. And this is one of these fights that I've been sort of back and forth on sort of in recent months about how this is going to sort of play out, pan out, who's going to win, and what happens next, because there is so much on the line here. It's one of these things, for Joe Joyce in particular, being an older fighter, he's now 35, he's had a birthday during the pandemic period. If he loses this one, sure, he can still be in good fights, but does it cut off the opportunity for a title shot? For Daniel Dubois, what if he doesn't pass the test? What if Joe Joyce beats him? What if there are some glaring holes in his game that we'd never really seen exposed too much before, but they come to light in this fight? It'll be a rebuild. He can come again, but this fight is going to tell us a lot about both fighters. And ultimately, this is what we've been wanting, especially for Daniel Dubois. So, I'm all on board, loving this fight. Yeah, these guys need to be commended for actually getting in the ring, because there's a lot of big fights that aren't getting made at the moment, and us fans are the poorer for it. And it seems to be down to money, no crowds, all that, and I understand that. But at the end of the day, if they're not fighting, eventually eyeballs start to drift away from the sport. So, them getting in the ring now is a good signal. And I guess you can make the argument, sure, they probably get paid less than some of the other guys, but it could be just a new reality. Some guys may need to take a haircut on their paychecks if they want to advance their careers and really sort of, make the most of their prime years. Because if some of them sit out for a year or two, they may miscalculate, never get the sort of paydays that they expect. Or what if they come off a long layoff and then lose? All of a sudden that big break, looks like a bit of a face pump. But I'll leave it there. But Daniel Dubois, Joe Joyce, November 28th. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.